All right, time for another nerdy virgin podcast. And I'm going to do this one audio only. I'm not going to do the video one. I like it better when it's audio only. I don't know what to tell you. I like it better when it's audio only. How am I doing? I'm awful. I am doing awful. I'm doing awful because first of all, I'm going for my evening constitutional, and I'm wearing the shirt and tie. I should have taken the shirt and tie off and then gone for the walk. So now I've unbuttoned the shirt. I'm holding the tie in my hand as I'm walking, which is ridiculous. I should have taken it off. I don't know what. I just, I get back home and I go, I gotta go for the walk. I gotta get the walk over with because I hate exercising so much. I don't want to risk. If I go into the apartment, I'll just stop and go, I could make toast. I could play Star Trek Online. No, I better do this now before I get too comfortable. So I'm coming home from my constitutional. There we go. I think I like to use the word constitutional for a couple of reasons. Number one, it is pedantic. And I like being pedantic. It's because I don't have a big, I'm not big down there. You know what I mean? Do I need to paint a picture? No. I wouldn't be much of a picture to paint. It'd be a small picture. It'd be like something Picasso would draw. Picasso would not draw me. This is going into a weird direction. I think Picasso would take one look at me and go, I don't know, maybe a tiny rectangle. He'd have trouble with the cube. He says, not a cube, not, maybe a sad Isosceles Triangle. That's what I'm seeing here. So this isn't even what I wanted to talk about. Anyway, my point is, I'm not doing well because I keep falling into this cycle with the stand-up where there's the comedian that I want to be, and then the audience is like, whatever you're doing, we don't want that. And then when I, talk about the woeful inadequacies of my Isosceles Triangle, my sad Isosceles Triangle, then they go, yeah, that's what we want to hear. And I get frustrated because I guess there's a part of me that wants to be the comedian / social justice warrior, and I wonder if can the microphone pick up the massive fart that I just uttered? That's as if on cue. As soon as I even suggest being the massive comedy social justice warrior, I just fart, and that right there. That's what's frustrating for me. That's what it is. There's, what I want to be is over here, and then there's what seems to be what everyone else wants over here. And I'm learning to make peace with that. And here's the real question: is it entirely possible that what everyone else is pulling me towards deep down is what I really want anyway? There's a thought. There's an absolute thought, right? Potentially, I'm not sure. So so anyway, basically what I'm complaining about is I tried to write, not even social justice warrior stuff, just more observational humor stuff that didn't work. And then, vaguely talked about being sad, and people went, oh, more. And I'm frustrated. So that's happening. I think it's been an eventful week for Star Trek Strange New Worlds, hasn't it? I should, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the episodes, but they did a crossover with Lower Decks. Lower Decks. And I liked it. I didn't love it. There's nothing they did wrong. I think what it kind of illustrates to me, what am I doing? What am I about to do? Am I about to do an in-depth analysis of an episode of Star Trek? Yes, I am. I think what I'm really trying to say is I'm lonely. Isn't that the root of any... Like, I've been doing these social media posts where I describe an episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And really, I think the theme, the overall theme is lonely. I am lonely. I am lonely. But, yeah, I've got nothing, I don't know. I can nitpick it. But there's nothing wrong, nothing wrong about it. It was a good episode. I think, what was I about to complain about? Well, I think that Star Trek Lower Decks has to really toe the line because they want to be funny, but at the same time, it can't, because it takes place in the realm of Star Trek, and because I think they're trying to keep it not necessarily family friendly, but at least, they want kids and teens, I think, to be able to watch it. They can't take they can't push it as hard as they would push it on Family Guy and Rick and Morty when it comes to the raunchy humor and some of the outlandish stuff, which I enjoy. So there's a restriction there on the kind of humor that they can do. And so the weird thing is that when I watch Star Trek Lower Decks, in my mind, I don't think of it, I think of it more as Star Trek than I do as a Star Trek parody. I don't see it as a Star Trek parody. That's what I'll throw out there. And I think maybe at first that's what it was designed to be, but I don't see it as a Star Trek parody. There we go, and there's nothing wrong with that. It was just kind of surprising to me that that's kind of what it's evolved into. And so the reality of it is, they're advertising, oh, it's so crazy that they're doing this crossover. It's so, they're stretching the limits of what you can do with Star Trek by crossing over from this comedy animated series to this live action series. I'm like, not really. I mean, I think, Lower Decks is Star Trek. And it's just, and I think it's actually the restrictions that I hate that I'm even having this conversation right now. I'm over intellectualizing Star Trek. That's how much I need to talk to other people. I think this whole episode is a giant red flag for me, and that red flag is shaped like a sad isosceles triangle. That's really what I'm thinking. That is really what I'm thinking. Long story short, I enjoyed the episode. And then the obsessive compulsive part of me is paying attention to the uniforms because, Lower Decks, animated, so we see these characters in their animated uniforms, and now we're seeing the real life version of them. And so they had to make a real life version of the animated uniforms. And I'm sitting there looking at it going, I really like what they did there. These look quite good. And seeing how they actually translated it into a real piece of fabric was just kind of fascinating to look at. It's the best year I've had in a decade, frankly, was because of that episode. So I highly recommend it. There we go. Is that good? Am I even doing this right? It's all about failure, isn't it? I suppose it is. It's really the theme of my life lately, is it does feel like it's about what's wrong. What am I gonna do? What else would I talk about on this podcast? Am I gonna tell you how good things are going? You don't want to hear about that. And nothing good is going on. I mean, I guess nothing bad is going on. I'm afraid to even say that, because as soon as I say that, I'm afraid God is going to hear that and go, oh, well, here, do you need, I can change that for you. Why didn't you say so? Coming right up. I'm about to travel. We should probably address this. I'm about to travel. And I hate traveling. Why do I hate traveling? It's the movement. It's the moving. It's the problem is, I have to be careful because people are walking by as I'm talking. And the good news is that they could just think I'm talking on the phone, but I still have to censor myself because I'm about to talk about something that I don't want other people hearing as I'm walking past them. Okay, now, I have irritable bowel syndrome. Irritable bowel syndrome, all right? And what that means is if I'm traveling, if I know I'm going to be on a plane for 6 hours, I have to be now thinking, okay, how do I avoid the need for a public bathroom for 6 hours? And the only solution is maybe don't eat that week. That's the only solution I can come up with, is just don't eat or drink and sit on the plane for 6 hours and get so nervous that I force myself into constipation. It's a lovely way to live, isn't it? I just, the older I get, the more all I want is to stay in one place and just always be near a toilet. That's, for me, I just always want to be near a toilet. This is why I'm not even really going to movies anymore. It's that 2 hours away from a toilet that I'm familiar with. I want to be near a familiar toilet. That's all I want. Just a place where my sad isosceles triangle can relax and do what it needs to do. Okay? So now I've got a plan for this 6-hour flight. I'm going to Montreal. That's not how you say it. It's Montreal. Is that how? I never say it with the correct pronunciation. More farting, by the way. And here's the other thing about pronunciation that I've noticed is that, like, take the word croissant, which I know I'm butchering. I feel like it's safer for me to just say croissant badly than to try to say croissant and miss. Like, just be safe in my, I'm just, if I'm talking to somebody who speaks French, I just want to just say, I'm an American, I'm going to say this word, we both know it's not going to be good, croissant, and then go from there. I tried once. I thought maybe, I tried to order a crescent. I just tried to say, can I get a crescent? Because, I think they're called crescent rolls. That's what croissant is French for crescent. So I said, yes, I'd like a crescent. And the person had no idea what I was talking about. So I had to go croissant. And they went, oh, got it, all right. But I always get nervous when I come across a word like that. And I feel very similar with Montreal. It's not, I'm not saying it right. I know I'm screwing it up. It's not Montreal, it's Montreal. It's not ma, I think. Montreal. That's not how you say it. Anyway, I'm going to Canada. I'm going to a city in Canada. It starts with M. And it's not Manitoba. And Manitoba, by the way, I don't think that's a city. I'm making this even worse. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Is this a podcast? What is this? What is this? I don't know what this is. A lot of gas happening right now. All right, we're at 15 minutes. I think this is fine. Now the question is, do I have the discipline to post this? I'm going to make myself post this. I feel good about this. I actually feel like we accomplished a lot together tonight. Me and whoever all right, that's enough of this.